experts in the diagnosis, but we like to be experts in the recognition and of their heart disease. So knowing their manifestations, the manifestations of So knowing the manifestations of congenital heart disease will be very important because it may not happen at the outright or at. So for this objective, we like to present the congenital heart lesions, usually structural cardiac arrest and acquired cardiac lesions or non-cardiac disease with them cardiac symptoms. So our objective for this lecture is recognition and mastery of visual systems and their presentation. As you have seen probably that this is the same lecture I give every day, every year, but the basic concepts are basically. So intended learning objectives is to understand circulation, the fetal circulation, because it's very important in the initial signs and symptoms of congenital heart disease after birth. This will determine the physiological situation of genital heart disease. And in any suspected heart disease, you should apply the 5 basic questions. And I would like to encourage that in pediatric cardiology, the most important are history and physical examination. And initial diagnostic examinations would be ECG and chest X-ray. And the most important non-invasive diagnostic regimen is the. So in 90% of the time, you should already have a diagnosis by history, physical examination, initial confirmatory by ECG, uh, chest X-ray finding, which we would like to practice in this lecture. So, what is the incidence of congenital heart disease? Now, in recent incidents, it has not really changed over time. Now, in the Philippines, the most common is still ventricular septal defect, and then the tetralogy of Fallot with the most common cyanotic diseases. Now, the incidence will vary because most patients will die in the first year of life or the first month, depending upon the severity of congenital heart disease. So it will be 3 per 1,000 live births for very severe conditions, 6 per 1,000 moderately serious conditions, and 9 per 1,000 after 15 to 20 when including the small septal defects, mild valvular stenosis, especially those in adult population. So the prevalence of congenital heart disease at birth is 5 per 1,000 live births. It decreases rapidly because most will die in infancy, and about 5 years of age, the incidence. So the prevalence is 1.5 per 1,000. It decreases over time. So for more than 8 years, it decreases because namatay na from the severity of congenital heart disease. So I was saying earlier, not the most common ventricular effect, patent tuberculosis, and tetralogy of Fallot is the most common cyanotic congenital heart. So what are the causes of congenital heart disease? Your suspicion depend on the factors, or are there precipitating factors, no, from the history, the circumstances surrounding. So the risk factor will make you suspect, or you should suspect, even in the absence of symptoms, for the presence of common congenital heart disease, like prematurity. Most premature babies usually have persistent patent lupus arteriosus. They may not be hemodynamically significant, but when they are, no, they require intervention. Sure. High altitude cases, most common arteriosus. Maternal factors: if the mother has diabetes, the most common is conotruncal abnormalities or transposition of the great arteries, AV septal defect, and IHS. Idiopathic hypertrophic subacrosis, it only means that the muscle going inside the subvalvular muscle, subvalvular of that the aorta is thickened because of the muscle, therefore causing a stenosis. And patients like this present as cyanosis. The presence of fever in the first trimester may be viral, but there's a 6.8 chance there can be a congenital heart disease. Most common is also coagulation of tricuspid atresia, and the relative risk of having a congenital heart disease, the mother has fever is 1.3. Rubella, cells, is common, and peripheral pulmonary heart. That is why you really have a PDA rubella babies. Rubella babies. It is the most common preventable congenital heart disease, and that is the reason why most we should encourage booster, MMR booster among childbearing age and all children, especially 8 years old. So the second booster is a very important preventive factor to prevent rubella syndrome, which will have common congenital heart disease like phenylketonuria, of course, is not rare in the country, and take of retinoic acid. So skin of those mothers who use retinoic acid can have phonotropic smoking, obesity. There's an unclear causality of the relative risk for those who smoke or risk can have septal. Alcohol, this is usually important. They lead to SG, gestation of HPs. And when heart disease is present, we can have phonotropic. So genetic factor is the most important risk factor for congenital. So you should screen up to the third generation. There is the highest is when a mother herself has congenital heart disease. There's a 5-10% risk up to the 3 generations. So that's the most important question that the mother asks you when she has congenital heart disease, right? For a child, and you know how to do it. When there is a 6%, you have percent chance or risk of having congenital. So sometimes when you ask mom who has a child disease, ask, meron po ba kayong congenital? They will answer wala. No? Because usually there is a generation. So siguro yung generation na wala or the one previous, the generation wala. But it is actually up to the 3 generations. So most of them will not be able to recall. Then you have left-sided obstructive lesions. What are the left-sided obstructive lesions? First to edit the left side. So you have your aortic stenosis, coarctation of the aorta, and so anything.
Sorry po.
Yes?
Doc, sorry po. The class is having a hard time understanding you. The mic has a problem ata on your end.
The mic has a problem. Wait. For now, can you understand me? Is it better?
It's a little better. Thank you.
Okay, I will look for a mic. Because I had COVID and I was so far. Okay,
Sorry po, choppy pa rin po.
sige. Okay, I have a mic now. Oh, here. I have a mic now. Is it better? Thank you. Okay, thank you for telling me. So chromosomal abnormalities, when a child has chromosomal abnormalities, always suspect congenital heart disease, even in the absence of signs and symptoms. So if it becomes urgent in the newborn to do an echo to check congenital heart disease, even before symptoms in patients born with trisomy 21. There's actually a 50% incidence in the books, but it can range to 80%. No? In the literature or researches done in the country, it's 80% chance of congenital heart disease. And the most common is AV septal defect, ventricular septal defect, and patent ductus arteriosus. For trisomy 18 or Edwards syndrome, most common is PSD, there's 80% chance. Trisomy 13 is 80 to 90% chance, but both of these will have low survival. In Turner syndrome or the 45XO, most common is coarctation of the aorta. In Marfan syndrome, you have mitral valve prolapse and it can progress based on severity or aortic aneurysm. In Noonan syndrome, you have pulmonic stenosis or coagulation of the aorta. And in Williams syndrome, you have aortic stenosis, usually supravalvular type. Then you have other associated congenital non-cardiac lesions. In Bacter syndrome, this is an association of vertebral anomalies, anal atresia, tracheoesophageal atresia, renal dysplasia, and radial defects. This is very commonly associated with tetralogy of Fallot. In Church syndrome, when they have coloboma, heart defect, choanal atresia, retardation of postnatal growth, and developmental abnormalities. They are associated with conotruncal and aortic abnormalities in 71 to 92%. So congenital heart disease is more of suspicion of its occurrence based on depending upon the risk factor of the patient. So how do you diagnose congenital heart disease if you are suspecting the presence of CHD? So first you have to ask, is the patient cyanotic or acyanotic? And you have to look for cyanosis. So you have to make the baby cry to be able to see this. And the most important tool is get a good history and physical examination. So for birth history, you ask, when is the timing of the first symptoms? Was the onset at birth? So for most congenital heart disease or cyanotic, you will not hear the murmur at birth, but it's only after the second or the third week of life. So on the first follow-up at the outpatient, then you have to ask for presence of easy fatigability or heart failure. In cyanosis, the severity will depend upon the onset. If the onset is at birth or within the 15 days after, it means that the child has critical congenital heart disease. And you should confirm this by making the patient cry or ask if there is increased cyanosis with feeding. If the patient is acyanotic, you ask for signs of heart failure, and usually there are disturbances in feeding. Next is the pulmonary blood flow increased or decreased. This is confirmed by chest X-ray. So how do you confirm increased pulmonary blood flow? Counting the RR. So increased respiratory rate is very important. So the normal RR is 60 in infants. If the RR is more than 60, then you can suspect that the blood flow is increased. In children, if they are tachypneic or the RR more than 30, or if they have frequent pneumonia, then you can suspect that they have heart disease, possible heart disease with increased pulmonary blood flow. Then get the objective finding of the chest X-ray, and we have a ways of determining pulmonary vascularity based on chest X-ray. Next is the malformation originating in the left or the right side. So the rule in the heart is no flow, no development. If there is a congenital heart disease or if there is a hole in the heart, increases flow either to right or the left side. So knowing what is normal is very important. In children, the right ventricle is usually more dominant until age 7. So if it is left that is more dominant, then it might tell you that there is a left to right shunt at any level. So looking at the PMI, the point of maximal impulse. So the PMI in children is at the fourth ICS, left midclavicular line. until 5 to 7 years of age. It shifts to the left side or the fifth ICS left midclavicular line after 7 years old until adult. So you have to check for the ECG. So objective measure for this is looking at the electrocardiogram by checking this is the more dominant ventricle. In children, you have 15 leads ECG. So the V1, V3R, and why is it 15? In adults, you have 12 lead. You have 15 because there's additional V4R to look at the right side of the heart. It is at the right parasternal border, and you have a V6, V7. So there are 3 additional leads, which will tell you if there is confirmed RVH of LVH. So if you talk of right ventricular enlargement, you look at the voltage in the right side of the heart. So in the ECG, it is reflected in V1, V3R, and V4R. In the left side of the heart, it's reflected in the V5, V6, and V7. So you will know the dominant ventricle. So based on the ECG, if you have voltage enlargement in these areas, then you can say that either the right or the left ventricle is enlarged. Next is pulmonary hypertension. What is pulmonary hypertension? It speaks of uncorrected congenital heart disease. The pressure in the lungs will increase as long as there is increased left to right shunt, and it can lead to hypertrophy of the pulmonary artery wall, increasing the pressure in the lungs. The increase in pressure in the lungs will eventually lead to right to left shunt, therefore leading to cyanosis in children with uncorrected congenital heart disease. So in late onset congenital heart disease, especially in those who are 10 and above, then they can shift from a previous left to right shunt to early onset of cyanosis. So again, you ask, when was the onset of cyanosis? If it is after 6 years of age or at adolescent period, this is also reflected with a decrease in the murmur. So the second heart sound or the P2 may be accentuated and the pulmonary hypertension is present. So these 5 questions are very important to go through, which we will practice later on as we go through the different congenital heart diseases. So now let us review the normal. So in your book, no, you will have a drawing. You will see a drawing in the book which reflects the hemodynamic of the heart. So in Nelson, there's a drawing of the heart. So there are 2 things which you look for in the heart when you look at the drawing in the book. You look at the saturation. The saturation will be the oxygenation in the heart. In the book, these are the encircled numbers. You have a 70 and there's a circle. Then it will tell you about the oxygenation or the pressure in the heart. So if you look at the right and the left side of the heart, if you note the right side, let us start from the aorta. So in the aorta, you have a BP of 100/60. This is the aortic pressure, which you get through getting the blood pressure. So the systolic pressure, 100, should be the same in all sides of the heart. So that is the mean systolic pressure in the left side. So it's all 100. 100. So the pressure, if you note, the BP is 100/60, and the pressure in the left ventricle is 100/8. The 8 is the diastolic pressure in the left ventricle. So for blood to flow from left atrium to left ventricle, kailangan pareho ang mean pressure sa left atrium with the mean pressure in the left ventricle. So you are sure that there is no resistance to flow of blood to the left ventricle during diastole. So the saturation in the heart, ito yung mga 100. So the normal saturation in the heart is about 96 to 100. So dapat 96 to 100 din lahat in the left side of the heart. So the saturation should be the same. Number 2, the BP, the diastolic pressure in the left ventricle should be equivalent to the mean pressure in the left atrium to assure that blood will flow from left atrium to left ventricle during diastole. On the other side of the heart, you have what you call the mean saturation. So the mean saturation should be 65 to 70. That is the venous saturation. So, titignan mo, no, pare-pareho din in saturation. And the PA pressure is normal is 25/10. Now, it is actually 20. The accepted normal PA pressure updated is 20/10. Again, you should note that the systolic pressure in the right ventricle and the pulmonary artery is the same, 25/25. And the diastolic pressure in the right ventricle should be the same as the mean pressure in the right atrium. Again, to assure that blood will flow from right atrium to right ventricle during diastole. Okay, so what happens if there is an increase in saturation? So in left to right shots, if there is an increase in saturation, sample dito sa pulmonary veins, dito sa superior and the inferior vena cava, the saturation is 70. If there's increase in the saturation by 3 to 5% at any level, it may indicate that there is a shock at that level. So example, yung 70 naging 75, it means that there's an interatrial communication. So blood from the left atrium cross the right atrium. So the saturation here becomes 75. So it means that there's a probable atrial septal defect at that level. In any case naman, if the saturation increases from RA to RV, so in right ventricle it become 80, it indicates again that there might be a ventricular septal defect at the ventricular level. So there are three areas or levels in the heart. First, you have the area of the aorta and the pulmonary arteries will be the great artery level. We have the interventricular level, and then you have the interatrial. So atrial, ventricular, and the great artery level. So the inflow to the right ventricle is the superior vena and the inferior vena cava. Then it goes to the right ventricle, right atrium. Then the outflow from the right ventricle is the pulmonary artery. So the inflow from the left atrium are the four pulmonary veins. Then you have the left atrium, left ventricle. The outflow of the left ventricle is the aorta. So if you talk of right and left side of the heart, the right side of the heart will consist of the inferior and superior vena cava, right atrium, right ventricle, and the pulmonary arteries. And the left side of the heart will be from the pulmonary veins, left atrium, left ventricle, and the aorta. So understanding the hemodynamics of the heart will help you understand the congenital heart defect or its physiologic classification and its manifestation. So this will help you understand the drawings in the heart. So if you look at your book, I would just like you to check on the more common congenital heart disease, which I will discuss it. Okay, so let us now go in the fetal circulation. So the fetal circulation, so let us go into the heart. This is the heart. What are the three large shunts in the heart? You have the patent foramen ovale. So una muna, so okay, let's go. So the waste from the fetus, no? No, muna dito muna. Food from the mother will go here to the umbilical cord. So they have the umbilical vein and the umbilical artery. So here, food from the oxygen to the umbilical cord will go to the umbilical vein, and then it goes to the inferior vena cava through the ductus venosus. From the ductus venosus, it goes to the right atrium, the right ventricle, and then it goes to the pulmonary arteries. From the pulmonary arteries, it goes to the pulmonary veins, the left atrium, left ventricle, and the aorta. What are the important factors in the newborn? In the newborn, walang pa siyang lungs, ba? So the lungs are a high pressure organ, so there is low or no flow to the lungs. And then there is high flow to the low pressure placenta. Okay? So what happens therefore is that hindi siya magfo-flow
Sa pulmonary arteries, no, there is low flow. Only 1/3 of the blood will go to the pulmonary arteries. 2/3 of the blood from the right atrium will cross the patent foramen ovale. So 2/3 yan ha. So the low is no flow, no development. Where is the higher flow? Higher flow is in the patent foramen ovale. 1/3 lang ang pupunta sa lungs. So it makes 2/3 flow now going to the right ventricle, going to crossing the left atrium, left ventricle, and then it goes to the aorta. Only 1/3 of the blood will go to the lungs, diba? So this 1/3 will need another shunt, which is the ductus arteriosus. So the ductus arteriosus is the passage of blood from the pulmonary arteries to the aorta. So that it goes to the aorta, and then now it goes down to the descending aorta, and then it goes to the umbilical arteries, and then it goes back to the placenta. So there are two misnomers here. So the oxygen-rich blood intrautero is the umbilical vein, and the oxygen poor blood is here, and the mixed blood is the violet. So the mixed blood is now the umbilical artery. So the artery here does not contain oxygenated blood. It is the umbilical vein which carries the oxygenated blood. So there are four large shunts in the fetal circulation. The largest shunt is the placenta. Then you have the ductus venosus, which carries the blood, connects the blood from the umbilical vein to the inferior vena cava, going to the right atrium. Then the third shunt is the patent foramen ovale, which admits 2/3 of the blood. And then the last is the patent ductus arteriosus. So the opening and closing changes in the fetal circulation right after birth will determine the signs and symptoms. Okay, so in the fetal circulation, we have said there are four existing shunts. The rule intrauterine is no flow, no development. So the lungs are not developed intrauterine. So it is a high resistance, low flow versus the placenta, which is the highest flow and low resistance. So what happens in the transitional circulation? At birth, during the first cry, what happens? This is the hallmark of the transitional circulation or the shifting from the fetal to the normal. So you have in the first cry, what happens? The lungs expand. Okay, the lungs expand. Therefore, the flow to the lungs will now increase. There is no shifting. The lungs will now become a high flow organ, and then the placenta will have no flow, high resistance, because you actually cut the umbilical vein. So the changes in the presentation happens when there is absence of the first cry. So pag hindi siya umiyak, like when you have problems in the newborn, like low Apgar, no? You have no cry. Therefore, wala yung shifting. So there can be varying degrees of cyanosis in the newborn, even if you have a normal heart. So what happens if you cut the umbilical cord? There is now increase in systemic vascular resistance as a result of no flow to the placenta. There is now closure of the venosus kasi kinat mo. And because there is no flow, no development, there is now natural resolution or resorption of the ductus venosus. When the lungs expand, there is a decrease in pulmonary vascular resistance. You know, increase in pulmonary pressure in the lungs will decrease because of low flow. Now, what happens if there is now more flow to the lungs? There is now more return flow to the left atrium. Therefore, there is functional closure of the foramen ovale because more flow in the left atrium, the right ventricle. So, nako-close yung, that is not you call functional closure. You have closure also of the patent ductus arteriosus right after birth, but there is varying chance of closure depending upon the availability or the oxygen tension, which is allowed right after birth. So the closure of the ductus arteriosus is the most modifiable cause of varying degrees of cyanosis in the newborn. It can constrict the most important stimulus for closure of the ductus arteriosus is the constriction of the medial smooth muscles of the ductus, which occurs in the first 10 to 15 hours. So pag nag-close ang ductus, tapos may sakit siya sa puso, then it will tell you that there can be varying degrees of cyanosis in the first 12 hours of life. So if you are in the nursery, no, and you are observing the baby, you can talk of hours of life with the first symptoms that you will encounter, especially in the newborn. So kung there is cyanosis or the autosaturation decreases less than 91%, then you can presume that probably nagsasara ang PDA niya. Therefore, this patient has a critical congenital heart disease dependent on the PDA. Then the PDA will now close anatomically. Final closure 2 to 3 weeks because of permanent changes in the endothelium and subintimal layer of the ductus. Therefore, if you have a cyanotic heart disease, you have to intervene after or within the first 2 weeks of life kasi magsasara. So in any case that the child has congenital heart disease, it can present as moderate to severe cyanosis if they are dependent on the patent ductus arteriosus. So what are the factors that favor closure of the ductus arteriosus? Oxygen is the strongest stimulus for constriction of smooth muscles, so the first cry is very important. When this happens, you have a decrease in prostaglandin level, and the responsiveness of the smooth muscles to the closure of the ductus will depend on the gestational age of the newborn. So that's the reason why most babies who are premature or less than 35 weeks will have a persistently patent ductus arteriosus kasi the muscles are immature to respond to oxygen after birth. It does not depend on the lack of smooth muscle development, but it is more of the maturity of the smooth muscles to respond to oxygen. So when you like to open PDA, yes, wala ulit. When you like to open the PDA, therefore, kailangan bigyan mo ng prostaglandin. And for the premature, if you like to close the PDA, then you have to give something also. You give ibuprofen. Okay. So right after birth, importante ang manifestation depending upon how much pulmonary blood flow occurs right after birth. If there's increase in pulmonary blood flow or increase in pulmonary pressure. So the physiologic classification of congenital heart disease will depend on two things: if there is increased pulmonary blood flow or decrease in pulmonary blood flow. If there is increase in pulmonary blood flow, usually it indicates that there is a shunt. If there's a decrease in pulmonary blood flow, it indicates that there's an obstruction to flow in the heart from an obstruction or decreased flow to the lungs from any reason. So if you go to the 5 basic questions, maintindihan mo na if the patient is cyanotic or acyanotic right after birth. If patient is cyanotic, it only means that autosaturation in the pulse ox is less than 91% or more, diba? Next is the pulmonary blood flow increase or decrease. Therefore, look for tachypnea or increased RR, the newborn, or check the X-ray. Is the malformation originating in the right side or the left heart? Because blood will depend on flow of the heart depending upon the development of the different chambers will depend on the flow to the heart. If there's obstruction to flow, then there will be no development of the right ventricle or any chamber. Therefore, we can talk of which ventricle is dominant, is it the right or the left? And in older children, you can have pulmonary hypertension. So there are two physiologic classifications of congenital heart disease. You have acyanotic and acyanotic. In the acyanotic congenital heart disease, is there increased pulmonary blood flow? It means there is flow, there may be a shunt. So if the right ventricle is dominant, there can be an atrial septal defect. If the left ventricle is dominant, it means there's a left to right shunt. Therefore, it can be at the ventricular level or the great artery level, causing an LVH or biventricular enlargement. If the patient is acyanotic, there is no flow to the heart. In patients who are acyanotic, therefore, the manifestations will be at a later age kasi wala siyang shunt. Usually, they are detected at school age. So, it only means that the right ventricle is dominant. There can be obstruction to flow from the right ventricle. So, there is a pulmonic stenosis. In the left ventricle, there's obstruction to flow from aortic stenosis. So, if there is no shunt, they are usually detected at a much later age, no? From physical examination during PE or school entry. If the patient is cyanotic at birth, again, count the RR. Check if the blood flow is increased or decreased. If the RR is increased, you can confirm on chest X-ray. Look at the ECG. Is the right ventricle dominant or both? When the right ventricle is dominant, it is from transposition of the great arteries or the total anomalous pulmonary venous return. There is decreased pulmonary blood flow. The most common is tetralogy of Fallot. So how will we detect this clinically? So these are the 5 basic questions. To answer your question, ibig sabihin kailangan mo lang ang history is the most important. Chest X-ray and ECG are your objective finding. And the most important non-invasive way to detect congenital heart disease is the 2D echo. In cardiac catheterization, you actually go inside the heart and check the actual pressures and oxygenation that we saw earlier in the normal hemodynamic study. So are there any questions so far? So let us compare the different congenital heart diseases based on the presentation. I think you already saw my asynchronous, di ba? So if you talk of it's a first tayo, di ba? First is increased pulmonary blood flow. It means that there is a shunt. So if there's a shunt, you have 4 differential diagnoses. Sabi natin, you can use your history, physical examination, ECG, and X-ray, di ba? So in ventricular septal defect, there's a shunt at the ventricular level. In ASD, there is a shunt at the interatrial level, and in PDA, there's a shunt at the great artery level. Most of them will present with increased flow to the lungs. Therefore, you have pulmonary congestion. Diba? But the presentation will be different based on the age of the patient. ASD, so we will talk about the individual lesions. We will go back to this later. Okay? Only, tingnan nyo dito. You go to the PE, the murmur in the VSD is the interventricular level. So it is at the pansystolic murmur at the left lower sternal border, the 3rd to 4th intercostal space. In ASD, it is a shunt at the atrial level. So you will hear the murmur at the left upper sternal border. In the PDA, it is a murmur at the great artery level. So the great artery area in the PE is at the left upper sternal border. It should extend up to the back. So if you hear a murmur at the back, it means that it might be a PDA versus a ventricular septal defect. Okay? If AVSD, it depends on the size of the lesion. Usually there might be no murmur. However, because of an associated mitral regurgitation, you can hear a murmur from the mitral valve, a pansystolic murmur, or mid-diastolic rumble at the apex. If you look at the ECG, if you note only atrial septal defect will lead to right ventricular enlargement or right ventricular hypertrophy. All, depending upon the size of the heart, size of the shunt, the VSD and PDA will lead to LVH or biventricular enlargement. All of this will have increased pulmonary blood flow on chest X-ray, but you note that in ASD you have right ventricle prominence. And the 2D echo will be very important in the diagnosis to check where's the shunt and the size of the shunt and the effect on the pulmonary artery. So how do you approach if you are ruling out a possible shunt lesion with increased pulmonary blood flow or signs of heart failure? What are the signs of heart failure, increased blood flow in the newborn and or in infancy? You have increased respiratory rate. You have disturbances in feeding, hindi siya makadede, or the child will have interrupted feeding. When you say interrupted feeding, the patient rests in between suck. Because if you suck, you have to stop breathing. So, hindi niya nasusustain ang feeding, ang stopping of feeding because of pulmonary congestion. You also have failure to gain weight, and you can have frequent respiratory tract infection. So you have look first step is the symptom cardiac or non-cardiac. You have to check if it is cardiac. Is it congenital heart disease? If it's CHD, is it cyanotic or acyanotic? If it's a shunt, then you have increased pulmonary blood flow. Then you will check which chamber is dominant. Is it the left or the right side? The 2D echo will tell you if it is mild, moderate, or severe depending upon the size of the shunt. So in a ventricular septal defect, no, it is also increased pulmonary blood flow at the ventricular level. So this is the most common, no, this is the interventricular level. It means what happens, what is the more dominant ventricle? During systole, blood will flow from the left to the right side. There is 1.5 to 2 times more flow to the lungs, so there is pulmonary congestion. Most of the blood will go back to the pulmonary artery, pulmonary veins. Therefore, what do you expect? There is more blood in the left ventricle, so you have left ventricular enlargement. So the more happens in VSD is LVH. Then you can produce a murmur at the interventricular level. So during systole, if the pressure in the left ventricle is 90, no? And then the pressure in the right ventricle, no, is usually 30 to 40. So the 90 is still 1/3. So when it is 1/3 or less than 2/3, it is 2/3, no? 1/3 lang ang BP sa right ventricle. During systole, all of the blood will flow to the right ventricle. So when you say all of the blood, then you produce a pansystolic during systole. So in ventricular septal defect, a pansystolic murmur is created during systole. And you hear a grade 3/6 pansystolic murmur at the third to left intercostal space, third and fourth intercostal space. And that is the murmur, no? When the murmur decreases or the pressure in the right ventricle increases, so ang normal is, sabi natin, 20 to 30. When it becomes 2/3, no, with long-standing left-to-right shunt and the pulmonary hypertension increases, it can be 60, no, 60 to 90. So if the pressure in the left ventricle is 90 and tumaas na ang pressure sa right ventricle, it becomes 70, then hindi na siya pansystolic. The murmur now will shift from pansystolic to systolic. Pag naging equal na ang pressure nila from severe pulmonary hypertension, then it will shift from right to left, or there can be cyanosis. Also, in uncorrected VSD, ang kaaway mo dyan is pulmonary hypertension, because once there's pulmonary hypertension, then they have poor chances for surgery. They can die from surgery, or they can be inoperable. So treatment in VSD is prevent pulmonary hypertension through early closure. So the incidence is 2 to 6 per 1,000. It is the most common. I think I gave you this in the asynchronous. Diba? So the most common is perimembranous type. And then what is important here is the perimembranous has the highest chance of spontaneous closure. So if you have a chance, sasabihin ng nanay sa doktor, ano gagawin ko? If this lesion close, then look at the echo. If it's perimembranous, you can tell the mother 80% will close in the first year of life, then we can wait until 2 years of age for final closure. If does not close after 2 years of age, then the chance for closure is low. On the other hand, you have a subpulmonic VSD. This is a high-lying VSD. If you remember, there is an interventricular septum, mahaba yun, diba? So the closer it is to the pulmonic valve, the lesser it is for it to close spontaneously. We should remember that the closure of the ventricular septal defect is highest in the perimembranous because the tricuspid valve can produce a septal aneurysm to close the VSD. Pag sa pulmonic, mataas siya masyado, malayo sa tricuspid valve. So the chance for it to close is very low. What is worse is it can hit the aortic valve and cause aortic regurgitation because of the prolapse of the right aortic cusp. So it can lead to AI to severe. So therefore, you have to close some pulmonic VSDs earlier to prevent the development of aortic insufficiency. So this is the ventricular septal, interventricular septum. You have the perimembranous, as I was saying, it is the most common. It can close spontaneously because this tricuspid valve can form, can close the aneurysm over time and cause a ventricular septal aneurysm to close the ventricular septal defect. In the supraclustal or the subpulmonic type, malayo na siya sa tricuspid valve. It is closest to the aortic valve. Therefore, it can never close by itself. And then it can lead to aortic insufficiency as a complication of Then you have the muscular types, no? It is close to the muscle. So over time, kasi kumakapal ang muscle, so the muscular types, depending on the size, will have the highest chance of spontaneous closure. Okay? So on the other hand, you have what you call Swiss cheese septum. Swiss cheese, madami. Multiple muscular VSDs. No, this occurs 5 to 20%. And the small ones, lesions can close, the large ones does not close. How do you close the muscular type? So the most common nowadays, we close the ventricular septal defects, which are perimembranous or muscular, through device closure. So VSD device closure or intervention closure will be the most common thing of closing muscular types in perimembranous VSD. And the last type is the canal type or endocardial occlusion defect or the AV septum defect, which means there is an atrioventricular septal defect. These are the types which do not close, and these are the types which are very large and are common in patients with Down syndrome. So I have already discussed the pathophysiology. So let us see this, no? In the chest X-ray, how does an increased pulmonary blood flow increase? So this is an increased pulmonary blood flow. We usually look at the lung markings. You divide the lungs into three. Longitudinal. So the first, second, and third. So if the lung markings extend more than 2/3, no, if you draw a line, then it means that there's increased pulmonary blood flow. Then what are the other findings? There are 3 nodules in the heart. So this is the first nodules, the pulmonary left atrium and the left ventricle. So if you note here, no, the left ventricle is close to the, no, so you have left ventricular enlargement, left atrial enlargement. So LA and LV is increased, which determines now the size of the heart, the size of the shunt. Okay, so the echo is the best way to determine the size and the location of the ventricular septal defect. This is the interventricular septum. So there's here. There's a hole in the heart at the interventricular level and it will indicate a septal defect. So this is the septal defect on the 4-chamber view. And this is a muscular defect. When you place the color, now this the presence of color close VSD jet will indicate that this is a muscular type of VSD since it is at the area of the VSD closest to the apex. So what happens to a VSD? I told you earlier, spontaneous closure will occur until 2 years of age, but you can wait until 5 years of age if they are asymptomatic. 80% of muscular VSDs will close spontaneously, 30 to 40% perimembranous. But small VSDs do not close. Therefore, we only close them surgically. They have the risk of infective endocarditis. the small pyramid. Why do we close VSDs? Because even a small VSD will have the risk of infective endocarditis. And the most common is from dental manipulation or dental caries can go to the oral bacteria can go to the heart when there is manipulation. Therefore, in patients with VSDs, you have to who undergo dental treatment, you have to give prophylaxis for bacterial endocarditis, and you give amoxicillin. So dental health is very important in patients with congenital heart defect. Next is the presence of aortic insufficiency, especially if they have subpulmonic types. Ventricular arrhythmia if the muscle now becomes very thick in uncorrected VSDs. So 45 incidents of shunts, you have ventricular arrhythmias. And if they are uncorrected after 5 years old, they can develop pulmonary hypertension. So the previous left to right shunt can have right to left if the pulmonary pressure increases by more than 2/3. So any questions? So most congenital chromosomal abnormalities will have a VSD as its associated feature. So in trisomy 21, 40 to 50%, and in Edwards syndrome, 100%. So when do you close a ventricular septal defect? So nowadays, we close the ventricular septal defect if they are in failure in less than 1 year old. So after 6 months of age, if there is poor weight gain. So failure to thrive is an indication of uncontrolled congestive heart failure. So poor growth, failure to grow. So that's why if you follow up a child with ventricular septal defect, it is very important to chart the growth every follow-up. So if they persist to become Z-score less than 2, then it indicates malnutrition secondary to congestive heart failure due to the congenital heart defect. So we have to promote nutritional upbuilding plus prepare the child for surgery, even if it's between 6 months to 1 year. So in those who are at least 15 kilograms, the newest way to close the defect is by device closure for perimembranous and muscular VSDs. And if they are large with elevated PA pressure, then we close them by surgically. Okay. What happens in PDA? In PDA, it's a connection in the great artery level. So what happens? Blood from the left side, right atrium, right ventral, go to the pulmonary artery. When there's a PDA, it is not affected by systole and diastole. Versus the VSD, wherein it is the flow to the hole will depend upon systole and diastole. So there's a VSD pansystolic during systole only. However, in PDA, it is not affected by systole diastole. So that is the reason why in PDA, you have a continuous murmur. You have flow both during systole and diastole. So it creates a continuous murmur at the left upper sternal border radiating to the back. Okay, what are the risk factors for PDA? It is prematurity because the PDA does not close. They have immature smooth muscles and rubellas. Okay, so when do you have congenital heart disease? You can label them as a congenital heart disease if the PDA persists more than 3 months or more than 12 weeks. Kasi di ba sabi natin kanina, you have fixed closure, dapat by 2 to 3 weeks. So if it persists after 3 months, it is now a congenital heart disease. So it is incidence in the premature is higher. Those born with asphyxia because walang first cry, those born with high altitude. In perinatal asphyxia or asphyxia neonatorum, there is delay of closure of the PDA. You have to follow up if it increases, closes less than 3 months, and also increases in German measles. So to prevent congenital heart disease, prevent German measles, so you have to vaccinate all yung mga childbearing age. So now, mahirap i-catch ang childbearing age. It is now a rule to give the second booster in females. So since nakakahawa, all ages, no, from 8 years old above, they should have already the second booster. No? Since the exposure of the mother to a child with rubella is the most common cause of rubella syndrome. Okay, so male to female ratio is 2:1. Process na ito na-discuss na. Okay, so chromosome. Are there other questions? So it can be implicated if there is a teratogen, congenital rubella. Aside from PDA, you can also have pulmonary stenosis, fetal alcohol syndrome, and maternal phenytoin and maternal amphetamines. So this is the PDA, and I have already discussed to you the effect of PDA as a continuous murmur because it is not affected by systole and diastole of the heart. So how do you treat it? The second is increased pulmonary blood flow, get the X-ray. So how is it different? Parang pareho lang siya, but in PDA, usually the first and second module will be prominent. So the most important differentiating point, therefore, in PDA and ESD is the murmur itself. By X-ray and ECG, pareho. But looking for the murmur, either in the interventricular septum or the second upper sternal border radiating to the back, will be very important. To differentiate a PDA and PSD. What are the other features of PDA? You can also have a bounding pulse or a low diastolic pressure because it is actually two vessels, the PDA and the pulmonary artery. So two tubes, no, there's a connection between two great arteries. So it causes a low diastolic pressure, low, if it is the normal is 90/70, the diastolic pressure can be lower, 40 to 50. Plus, there can be a bounding pulse. So when you go to the clinics, you have to master the feeling of a PDA with a bounding pulse pressure. So where do you look for this? In the great artery level. So in the echo, the great artery level is at the level of the pulmonary artery in the aorta, and this is now a PDA. Here is flow to the pulmonary artery during diastole. So how do you treat this? We treat these patients by closing them surgically, or nowadays 90% are closed by PDA device closure. No? Now the challenge now, no, is for patients with premature. Dun sila namamatay, premature, so have PDA. So now we are looking into intervention closure of patients of prematures with PDA who are at least 1.5 kilograms or higher. Okay, so how do you treat PDA? In children or in the premature baby who present with heart failure, di ba sabi natin the prostaglandin will decrease. So how do you control that? By giving indomethacin closure, no, indomethacin or NSAID or ibuprofen. No, those are the new ways to close the patent ductus arteriosus in the premature babies who have heart failure. So if does not respond to medical closure of PDA, then we close them surgically, or PDA catheter, no closure of the PDA by intervention or PDA device closure. And now the new in now is PDA closure of premature babies. So in PDA closure, device closure, they insert a catheter to the inferior vena cava, go to the right atrium, and then through the pulmonary artery, go now to the PDA and insert a device to plug the patent ductus arteriosus. In atrial septal defect, you now have a murmur connection in the interatrial level. So what happens? Blood from the right atrium, right ventricle will go to the pulmonary artery. Diba? Will you hear a murmur in atrial septal defect? You do not hear a murmur in ASD. So you do not hear the blood crossing the left atrium to the right atrium. Why? Because this is a low pressure area compared to the right interventricular level. So the low pressure area here, sa low pressure area, so hindi mo siya maririnig. What causes the murmur is the increased flow of blood, crossing of blood to the pulmonary artery. So mas maraming blood pumunta sa PA. So it causes a delayed closure of the pulmonary artery because of increased blood flow. So this is the only lesion which can cause fixed P2. No? Fixed split of the second heart sound. So the murmur, therefore, ASD is a rate 3/6 systolic ejection murmur because it's a flow murmur to the pulmonary artery with a fixed split second heart sound. Okay. So what causes what ventricle enlarges? That is the reason why the right ventricle enlarges in ASD because there is increased flow to the RV. No flow, no development. So since mas marami nagka-cross sa RV, you have RV enlargement. Okay? So in the atrial septum, there are different types of ASD depending upon where the hole is. So at the area of the patent foramen ovale remains to be open, then you have a secundum defect. So this is the most common serious type of ASD. Why is it that ASD is the most common congenital heart disease in adulthood? Because it has the symptoms are late detection, late development of symptoms. As we were saying earlier, you do not create a murmur because the pressure is very low. A murmur is created when blood crosses from a higher pressure to a lower pressure. So wala kang maririnig na pressure. They have to have symptoms after 10 years because of beginning pulmonary hypertension, easy fatigability. So they usually occur after the 10th decade of life or after the second to third decade of life. So what are the different types of ASD? This is the secundum type ASD pag nasa gitna. But for your knowledge, there are different types of ASD kasi mahaba din yan. If it is close to the superior vena cava, then you have a sinus venosus type. Then you have a close to the inferior vena cava, if the atrial septum, the lower, then you have the primum type of ASD. So only ASD secundum can close spontaneously. The other types of ASD should be closed surgically. Okay, so this is the primum type of ASD. In superior vena cava type of ASD, the sinus venosus type of ASD, no? There it is the most common ASD, which is associated with partial anomalous pulmonary venous return. When you say partial anomalous, usually there are 4 pulmonary veins, but because of the ASD, 1 or 2 of the pulmonary veins may not drain to the left atrium, but drains to the right atrium. So there is a partial anomalous pulmonary venous return when there is a sinus venosus type of ASD. So again, this reiterates that there is blood crossing to the right ventricle, there is more blood going to the lungs. But what is important here is the right ventricle is enlarged because of the increased volume of blood going to the right ventricle. And because of the delay of closure of the second heart sound, you have an atrial defect. So dun sa exam, pag sinabi ko sa inyo, the right ventricle, if there's a shunt, and then look at the PE, there is fixed split second heart sound, then ASD ang sagot doon, ha? So mataas ang ating minimum pass level because it's a giveaway. So definite therapy for ASD is closure also of the ASD. So now, the most common way to close ASD is device closure of ASD even in adults, no? Kasi madali lang. If it is secundum type, otherwise, if you have sinus venosus and primum ASDs, the only way is to close them surgically. Next is AV septal defect. In AV septal defect, this is a large shunt because there's atrial defect in the septum plus a ventricular septum. So it's almost a canal type, diba? So meron kang atrial tsaka ano. So there are different types here. So does this produce a murmur? So that's the reason why pwedeng walang murmur kasi masyado siyang malaki. We said that a murmur is created when blood flows from higher pressure to lower pressure. But in a very large shunt, hindi na siya mag-create ng pressure because blood will flow freely, di ba? So AVSDs may not produce a murmur, but they have overt heart failure because of the very large shunt. So the only way to this is to close them earlier, surgically as early as 6 months of age. Now, in atrioventricular septal defect, they are usually associated with conotruncal or with valve insufficiency kasi nawawala ng valve. So there are two types here. You have a canal type of AVSD and partial AVSD. What's the difference? In a canal type AVSD, ibig sabihin parang isa lang, isang ventricle lang. You have a common atrioventricular valve, there is one valve only for the whole. In partial AVSD, meron ka rin tricuspid valve and you have separate mitral valve. So the complete AV canal types are those who present with heart failure and should be closed surgically. They have also the highest incidence of early pulmonary hypertension. Therefore, they have the high risk and high risk for mortality during surgical closure. Okay, so any questions? So what are the components of AVSD? You have atrial septal defect, ventricular septal defect, plus you have valvular deformity in the complete types. So the murmur is heard from the valvular tricuspid regurgitation or mitral insufficiency when it is surged. Okay, so this is an AV septal defect. And this is the canal type of AVSD. Isang ano lang, isang valve, no, for the whole ano. So it is a complete this is complete AV canal. You have ASD primum plus a very large ASD. And the partial types, yun ang difference. Meron kang tricuspid and the mitral valve. So it is easier to repair with better chances during surgery. So the treatment is only surgical. Before, no, when the surgical skill was not good, they would band. Ibig sabihin, they place our band sa pulmonary artery to decrease the flow to the lungs and decrease signs and symptoms. But now we can now do a direct closure, surgical closure. Hindi na tayong stepwise, stage 1 and stage 2. But we can now do actually complete repair in the very young as early as 3 to 6 months of age. So going back to this, anong difference dito? As I was saying earlier, all will have increased pulmonary blood flow. You have a pansystolic murmur in the VSD and the left lower sternal border and continuous murmur at left upper sternal border for PDA. Only ASD will have a flow murmur with fixed split. In AVSD, there is no murmur, but you can have a murmur when there is associated MR, mitral regurgitation or tricuspid regurgitation. All will have increased pulmonary blood flow, but the second mogul, the pulmonary artery is usually prominent in those with atrial septal defect. And all we have LVH, PSD and PTA. So paano mo i-differentiate through the murmur? In ECG, only ASD will lead right ventricular. So what is the natural history? So all of them will have heart failure because of increased pulmonary blood flow. The highest and early heart failure will increase in atrioventricular septal defect. In PDA, it's in the first 10 days of life. In VSD, it's in the first year of life, depending on the size. All will have infective endocarditis risk. The highest risk is in patent tuberous arteriosus. So pag sasabihin mo, kahit maliit ba isasara mo because of this risk. And ASD will not have a risk of infective endocarditis kasi low flow lesion. So the chance for bacterial circulation even of bacteria is low unless it is associated with mitral valve and abnormalities. Highest chance of spontaneous closure in VSD, can wait until 2 years of age if they are asymptomatic, no? Bakit 2 years? Kasi sabi nila after 2 years, you have high chance of developing already irreversible pulmonary hypertension. In ASD school age, because they are detected late unless they have failure to thrive, PDA, no, in first year of life, and ABSD, there is no spontaneous closure. In PDA, it should close until 2 to 3 weeks of age, until 3 months. 2 to 3 weeks of age. If they persist after 3 months, it's already a congenital. So any question? Treatment is either through surgery for all, but they can now have an option for device closure except atrioventricular septal defect. So how about in the cyanotic lesion? For a cyanotic, no, is an obstruction to flow either through the right ventricle and PS. So ito, how do you detect, late onset, so wala silang symptoms, mataba sila. But if you listen to the murmur, then you can hear a murmur. So pag pulmonic stenosis, it is an obstruction to flow in the right ventricle. So what is the obstruction to flow at the great artery level? So maririnig niyo yung murmur wherever the blood will flow. So physical examination will be very important. So how do you detect? So obstruction to flow in the right ventricle is PS, aortic valve is aortic stenosis, and there can be obstruction to flow in the great artery through the coarctation of the aorta. So in coarctation of the aorta, wala kang murmur kasi unless there's an associated VSD, no? Or any other heart lesion. But what you see is weak pulse, no? So sometimes therefore it is missed, no? Versus in PS, pulmonic stenosis, these are all flow murmurs, obstruction to flow. So pag flow murmur, systolic ejection murmur lang siya. So obstruction to flow in the right ventricle is pulmonic stenosis, whereas the pulmonary, on PE, pulmonary auscultatory area is at the second ICS, left upper sternal border. So if you have systolic ejection murmur at the second ICS, left upper sternal border, then it may be a pulmonic stenosis. So how do you confirm? In PS, the murmur will be produced wherever blood will flow. So sa pulmonary artery, blood will flow in the left and right pulmonary artery. So where is it transferred? At the back. So if you have a murmur at the back, at the scapular area, then it may be pulmonic stenosis. So in tetralogy of Fallot, if you like to read, you have to listen to the murmur, look for a murmur until the back. In aortic stenosis, is obstruction to flow, the aortic valve. So where is the aortic auscultatory area? Right upper sternal border, di ba? So the murmur will be heard wherever blood will flow. So in the aorta, where will the blood flow? The carotid arteries, di ba? So you are 100% correct. If you hear a murmur, the right upper sternal border, dapat i-define mo where is the radiation. So you hear a grade 3/6 murmur, the right upper sternal border, where will it radiate? To the carotid. So it's the only murmur which radiates on both sides of the neck. So kung may both sides of the neck sa makita nyo doon, then 100% is aortic stenosis. So lalagay ko doon, expected score 1. Ha? Kung sa scoring sa exam, 1, 1. PS 1, 1. Because by history and PE, dapat alam nyo na ang sign even without that. So the only way to detect that, the type and severity is by the echo. Okay? So dito, obstruction to flow, the only way to check is by I will not delve into this, but in pulmonic stenosis, there are different types. It's the outflow. So the outflow to the pulmonary artery can be in the muscle, pagpalabas, sa valvar, and supravalvar. So sa valvar, usually caused by the hypertrophy of the muscle. The valvar types is at the area of the valve, and the supravalvar. The supravalvar types, you only close by surgical. But in the valvar types, again, you can, depending upon the severity, the way to cure that is by percutaneous pulmonary balloon valvuloplasty. They insert a balloon in the groin, and then you inflate the balloon, and therefore you rupture the pulmonic valve and cause release the pressure. So there is thickening of the pulmonic valve and causes hypertrophy. Why is there hypertrophy of the right ventricle? Because the right ventricle will cause increased pressure para mailabas ang blood. So there is increased pressure against the blood will pump in a high resistance because of the obstruction to flow. Therefore, it causes right ventricular enlargement. Why is it important to cure? Because the right ventricle is not prepared for, what is the supply to the muscle of the heart? The coronary arteries, diba? Ang left ventricle prepared siya para kumapa. Because you have left main and left circumflex pulmonary artery, tas meron pa siyang accessory, but in the right ventricle, you only have one coronary artery. So, hindi niya kayang i-sustain niya. So, heart failure in the young can be produced in the right ventricle. So, in children, we have to prevent right ventricular heart failure kasi usually pag kumapal na ng puso, hindi mo na mababalik sa normal. So, the treatment here is to prevent RV hypertrophy by releasing the pressure. So they say if the pressure is 55 and above, it has the ability to cause right ventricular failure over time. So in the echo, we usually look at the pressure. If it is pressure difference is 55 and above, then we recommend dilatation. So ito rin pareho, no? In PS, you have R80 kasi obstruction to flow right ventricle. So the muscle will, the structure before the obstruction will be the one which will be affected. So in PS, the right ventricle is enlarged. In AS, left ventricle is enlarged. Okay? And to the echo is the best. So anong difference? Mas maaga ang failure sa PS. In aortic stenosis, the signs and symptoms can occur until early adulthood, depending upon the severity. Kasi meron pa siya. So what are the signs in AS? It can produce ischemic heart disease. Kasi the blood flow to the coronary arteries will depend upon the aortic valve. So may obstruction to flow din sa coronary arteries. Therefore, sa ECG, merong SDA wave changes in those with aortic stenosis. Okay, so how do you do PPPV? You it's done to alleviate the obstruction. Again, they insert here, and then they insert a balloon at the area of the valve. So they inflate the balloon to destroy the membrane at the pulmonic valve. So ito din ang aortic stenosis. There's thickened aortic valve. It can be at the area of the valve, subvalvular or supravalvular. So this is supravalvular. The supravalvular types are the most common associated with Williams. Okay? So ang gusto ko lang sa inyo dyan is the physical examination. Okay? And that aortic stenosis is the most common, which can produce heart failure or STD wave changes, chest pain in adolescents and young adults because it causes anginal type of pain because there is low flow to the coronary arteries with increasing severity of stenosis. Okay, so the only treatment is also balloon valvuloplasty or surgical replacement of the valve, or sometimes you have now what you call Ross procedure. In Ross procedure, because in children, we don't have the adult valve, the size of the valve, the lowest is for adults. So what they do is to exchange the pulmonary artery of the aortic valve, and that is what you call the Ross procedure. So any question? How about in cyanotic heart disease? So in cyanotic heart disease, you have to remember na di lahat ng nangingitim na bata are congenital. maybe there's only 1 to 2% due to congenital heart disease. So the circumstances surrounding birth during the transitional circulation, even with a normal heart, can be different, no? Can present a cyanosis even in the absence of congenital. So what what's important is for us to detect sino ang mamamatay pag nangingitim siya right after birth. And that is what you call critical congenital heart disease. So now, we have what you call the mandatory pulse oximetry to determine sino ang pwedeng mamatay after 24 hours because of the presence of critical congenital heart disease. So detecting critical congenital heart disease in the first 48 hours of life is very important. So how do you assess a child with cyanosis? So you have, when does the cyanosis start, the extent, how low is the saturation? Merong mild, moderate, severe, diba? You know that the saturation should be 91 and above. Sa atin, 96 and above. So if the saturation is less than 70, if we remember kanina dun sa hemodynamics, the right side of the heart, ang normal saturation is 65 to 70. So if it is less than 70, then that is already severe. Moderate is less than 91, so 85 to 91 is moderate cyanosis and severe cyanosis. So it's the severe cyanosis which becomes an emergency for all newborns because it can lead to metabolic acidosis and can cause death in the neonatal age. So cyanosis means there is bluish tinge of the skin, usually resulting from decreased oxygenation of the heart. But we have to know that for the blood to be clinically apparent, dapat nasa blood, no, the hemoglobin will carry 5 grams of the blood. So in cyanotic patients or in anemic patients, pwedeng hindi mo ma-detect ang cyanosis kasi kulang siya sa blood. Or in cyanotic patients, it means that 5% of the blood, 5 grams per deciliter of the blood are not carrying oxygen. So example, if you have a hematocrit of 45 minus 5, ibig sabihin, the actual hematocrit is 40. So that in a normal child, if the hematocrit is 36, ibig sabihin, 31 lang hematocrit. So this child is anemic, no? Because 5% of the blood does not carry oxygen. So kailangan mag-transfuse ka. So, clinical cyanosis is blue arterial blood to describe the color given by unoxygenated or reduced hemoglobin. So, the presence of 3 to 5 grams of reduced hemoglobin per deciliter of blood is present. So, in cyanotic heart diseases, you have to subtract 5 to get the actual hemoglobin. So, detection will depend on the severity. So, in a normal newborn, na ilalagay yan para yung bone piece. Tama? So, detectable cyanosis will be less than 70%. Kasi severe na siya. So, what is important for us also to know is that in the newborn, you have what you call peripheral cyanosis. It means that it is bluish discoloration of the blood due to AVO2 difference with normal saturation. Ibig sabihin, what is important for congenital heart disease is central cyanosis. Sometimes peripheral cyanosis occurs because of the temperature. So peripheral cyanosis can occur due to vasomotor instability, hematologic or capillary stasis or venous. What is important in congenital heart disease is central cyanosis. So in central cyanosis, even on crying, the tongue, mucous membrane, and peripheral skin are cyanotic. And once this happens, what is the cause? It can be pulmonary or alveolar ventilation. It can be pulmonary or it can be cardiac or due to methemoglobinemia, which is also rare. So low levels of oxygen, the fingers will look blue. This is a very blue child, so you get the saturation of this patient. What is important now is to tell you that you have what you call the pulse oximetry screening to detect the changes after birth. Diba sabi natin, after the transitional circulation, after the 24 hours of life, then you have to detect, you can detect congenital heart disease if there is no shifting, obstruction of the flow. So a difference in the upper and lower extremities autosaturation will tell you if there is critical congenital heart disease. So the upper and the lower, if the difference is more than 3% between the upper and lower extremities, then you can have a positive pulse oximetry, and therefore you have to rule out congenital heart disease into emergency care. Okay, once you have clubbing, this is what you call clubbing of the lower extremities. It means that the cyanosis has occurred more than 6 months ago. Okay, presence of other symptoms, tachycardia, tachypnea, or even seizures. So onset, so you have to ask, when was the onset of cyanosis? The younger the onset, the more severe it is. So the critical congenital heart disease is associated with the neonatal cyanosis because it's associated with closure of the PDA. It means upon closure of the PDA, walang flow sa lungs, so it becomes an emergency. VSD or tetralogy of Fallot is the most common cyanosis which occurs in infancy or usually after 2 to 6 months of age. Childhood cyanosis usually occurs when there is associated pulmonary hypertension. Okay. So, in how do you differentiate? If it is due to lung disease, the cyanosis will improve upon crying because the lungs will expand. In congenital heart disease, the lung, it is additional work on the heart. So when there's additional work on the heart and there's cyanosis, then it means baby cardiac. So let us look at this. What happens when you have a child who has cyanosis or an nocturnal autosaturation less than 91 or less than 85%? So you have to rule out, is it central or peripheral cyanosis? We usually give oxygen at high 10 liters with rebreathing bag with or 100% for 15 to 20 minutes. And you get the blood gas. If the blood gas improves or relieved by warming, then with autosaturation, which is high, then it may be peripheral cyanosis. In central cyanosis, the PO2 is low, and with the auto-challenge test, it does not improve. We also have what you call differential cyanosis, wherein you compare the cyanosis between upper and lower extremities. If there's difference in autosaturation between the upper and lower extremities, it tells you that there is differential cyanosis. And there is differential cyanosis, it tells you that there is a congenital heart disease, either a transposition of the great arteries with coarctation of the aorta. So in auto-challenge test, I was saying we give 100% and check for improvement. If there is improvement, there are other causes of cyanosis. It can be a non-cyanotic heart disease. It can be sepsis, CNS infection. There can be polycythemia or autosaturation more than 70. There can be hypocalcemia or a primary lung disease. So to the echo, the very, very, very important. So in very critical congenital heart disease, you have an emergency echo to check at the flow to the heart. So the most common will be congenital heart disease. Okay. So once you have cardiac causes, there are 3. So you talk of the right and the left side of the heart. So the most common cause of cardiac cyanosis in the newborn is number 1, there is an independent pulmonary and systemic circulation in transposition of the cardiac artery. Second is there is decreased pulmonary blood. When you say decreased pulmonary blood flow, from inflow to the right ventricle to the outflow. So inflow to the right ventricle is the tricuspid valve. So pwede siyang sarado. So you have tricuspid valve atresia. Outflow to the right ventricle is pulmonary valve atresia. So pwede siyang sarado. You have pulmonary valve atresia. Or pwede siyang masikip. There is pulmonic stenosis in the tetralogy of Fallot. Or in Epstein anomaly of the tricuspid valve, there is decreased volume going to the right ventricle, or admixture lesion. In admixture lesion, you have the most common is total anomalous pulmonary venous return, wherein all of the 4 pulmonary veins are not draining to the left atrium pumupunta siya sa right side. But since there's still flow to the lungs, moderate lung cyanosis. So the critical congenital heart disease will occur if you have independent pulmonary system circulation or inadequate pulmonary blood flow. So here, we again have two types, increased pulmonary blood flow or decreased. And these are the different types of critical congenital heart disease, pulmonary valve atresia, tricuspid valve atresia, critical pulmonic stenosis, and Epstein's anomaly. So all of them will produce cyanosis. In critical PS, there is no flow to the lungs or ponte lung. All of them can have single S2, or sometimes you do not hear a murmur because a murmur is produced when blood flows through a vessel. So kung sarado siya, wala siyang murmur, pero nangingitim siya. So the observation that no murmur, no heart disease is therefore false because some patients may not have a murmur because there is no flow to the vessel. So if you compare the ECG, it depends, di ba? They can have LVH or RVH depending upon the flow. There is decreased pulmonary blood flow and X-ray. And the 2D echo will be very important. So in cyanotic heart diseases, the 2D echo is very, very important to determine the intervention, which may be needed. So in pulmonary valve atresia, walang development ang main pulmonary artery. So blood from right atrium will right ventricle. Wala siyang flow. So the flow to the right ventricle will depend on the presence or absence of PST, or the flow with the lungs will depend upon the presence of PDA. Pag nagsara yan, wala na. Mangingitim siya. So this is a PDA dependent patient. In tricuspid valve atresia, it means there is no flow to the right ventricle, sarado siya or stenotic. So there is no development of the right ventricle. Kasi sabi natin, no flow, no development, diba? But usually there may be an associated ventricular septal defect. So the blood can flow to the, depends on the size of the VSD, diba? So papunta sa right ventricle. So again, this will depend on paano siya mapubuhay. Dapat meron siyang interatrial communication para yung blood which cannot enter here will go to the interatrial septum. So the adequacy of the, so how do we treat these patients? We create ASD by doing balloon atrial septostomy, or kung stenotic yan, then we create PDA. You have to maintain the PDA open. So before we do a shunt, but now we can maintain the PDA to be open by placing a stent. So PDA stenting in patients with critical congenital heart disease in the first month of life is life-saving. So tetralogy of Fallot is the most common congenital heart disease, but late onset, no, unless masikip siya masyado or you have a very severe, you have associated pulmonary valve atresia, no. So in tetralogy of Fallot, what are the 4 important components of tetralogy of Fallot? First is you have a VSD. It's usually a large VSD. A large VSD, ano pa? You have pulmonic stenosis. You have, so yung dalawang components nun, large VSD and PS, really produce a murmur here. So where does the murmur come from in tetralogy of Fallot? Since large VSD siya, the murmur is not created from the flow of the blood in the right and the left ventricle. Since it's a large, hindi mo siya maririnig, no? But the murmur is created from the flow of blood from the right ventricle to the small pulmonary artery. So the murmur in tetralogy of Fallot is therefore from the pulmonic stenosis. So where do you hear the murmur in PS? Therefore, the murmur in TOF is systolic ejection murmur, left upper sternal border. But since blood will flow wherever the blood flows, it can be heard until the back. So if a PS murmur can be heard until the interscapular area. So these are the 2 important components. What causes the cyanosis in tetralogy of Fallot? It's the severity plus the overriding of the aorta. When you saw overriding of the aorta, pag nakita mo to, this is the aorta, diba? There is overriding, hindi ibig sabihin overriding, tumatawid siya. It overrides the ventricular septum, nataas siya ng septum by 50%. So kung 50%, merong mixing ng red and blue blood, kaya nagiging violet, which produces the cyanosis. So overriding of the aorta is very important to cause the cyanosis. You also have ventricular septum defect with PS, but in VSD with PS, all of the aorta are committed to the left ventricle. So wala siyang cyanosis. However, in tetralogy of Fallot, you have an aorta which is dilated and overrides the ventricle, the interventricular septum by 50%, and right ventricular hypertrophy. So the four components of TOF are number one, a very large subaortic ventricular septal defect. Number two, you have a pulmonic stenosis. Number three, you have a dilated aorta overriding the ventricle. And number four is right ventricular aneurysm. Okay? So yun lang importante, never mind these different types. The most common type is TOF with pulmonic stenosis. Okay, so what is the natural history of TOF? So it's late onset cyanosis, so after 2 to 6 months of age. And there is progressive right ventricular hypertrophy. Okay, so the worsening of the PS, no? Kumakapal ang right ventricle, no? In PS. So what are the other effects? There can be polycythemia because of the pulmonic stenosis. You can have hypoxic spell. What happens in hypoxic spell? Kumakapal yung right ventricle, di ba? Therefore, the muscle below the valve is thickened. So it is the infundibulum. So infundibulum during crying can cause constriction of the infundibular muscle and cause low flow to the lungs, and therefore pwede siyang mag-spell. When you spell, parang namamatay siya. So decreased flow to the lungs can cause a spell. So the most important manifestation of children with TOF is the tetralogy of Fallot spell, wherein the child usually squats, o kaya certain medical conditions can increase constriction in the infundibulum like crying, metabolic acidosis, or any infection, decreasing the flow. So when this happens, anong gagawin mo, no? Yung knee chest position, place the lower extremities in knee chest, place the child in knee chest position. You fold the lower extremities to increase the flow to the system, to decrease the systemic vascular resistance and increase flow to the pulmonary arteries. Give oxygen, and we usually give morphine to relax the infundibulum, or you give a beta blocker para hindi siya bibilis ang heart to decrease the rate of the heart and cause flow to the infundibulum or into the outflow to the right ventricle. So medical treatment of spell is the chest position, give oxygen, sedate the patient, give fluids, no? Then correct the anemia to increase the preload, and give beta blocker to decrease the spasm in the infundibulum. So how do you treat tetralogy of Fallot? Oxygenation. If the oxygenation is 80 and above, it's acceptable. However, if there is severe pulmonic stenosis or the saturation is less than 70%, there is less likelihood of this to grow. Then you could do a shunt, or in the baby, we place a stent. Then we close the VSD and repair, or RVOT repair, or increase the main pulmonary artery by transplant. So when is the best time to correct patients with now, since the skill now is improving, no, we correct the VSDs before from 5 years old. Now we correct them at 1, but now with increasing skill, if they have severe cyanosis, then we correct them as early as 6 months to 1 year old age, to prevent the effects of hypoxemia, since it's now proven that there can be neurodevelopmental disorders when there is oxygenation less than 80%. What happens in Epstein anomaly? In Epstein anomaly, the tricuspid valve, ito yung is plastered on the wall of the right ventricle. So in effect, ang laki ng right atrium niya. ang right ventricle lumiliit. So there is decreased volume to the right ventricle, decreasing the flow to the lungs, therefore still obstruction to flow. Most patients with Epstein anomaly will have combined effect of also no flow, no development, diba? So kung minsan maliit din ang pulmonary artery, increasing the cyanosis. So in a cyanotic newborn, these are the four differential diagnoses. You have pulmonary valve atresia, severe tetralogy of Fallot, Epstein anomaly with PS, and transposition of the great arteries with intact septum. So all of these three decrease flow, so they are dependent on PA. Only transposition of the great arteries will have increased blood flow. What happens in transposition of the great arteries? So what happens in transposition of the great arteries? In transposition of the great arteries, blood from the right atrium, right ventricle will go to the nagkabaliktad ang aorta and the PA. So you have two independent circulations. You have a pulmonic circulation and a systemic circulation. In pulmonic circulation, blood from the RA will go to the RV. You have a class after RA, RV, and then to the aorta. And then in the left side, LA, LV, pulmonary artery. So you have two independent circulation. So for this child to live, there has to be a connection at any level. So dapat may PDA siya, no? Dapat may patent foramen ovale, or in sometimes you have a ventricular septal defect. So in babies who have right after birth, diba, the PDA closes. So if the TGA, they are dependent on the PDA. So we usually give prostaglandin in these types of patients, or do a balloon atrial to increase the size of the patent foramen ovale, and then send them for surgery to close arterial switch operation in the first 2 weeks to 1 month. So these are the causes of increased pulmonary blood flow. Only TGA will be critical congenital heart disease in the newborn. Total pulmonary venous return are late onset cyanosis, which I will describe later. So ito, TGA, they can have no murmur. They can cause right ventricular enlargement, and we have egg on its side configuration. Because you have parang malaki ang right ventricle niya, plus the pulmonary artery and the aorta are on top of each other. So you have a very narrow ventricle. Okay, so in transposition, we have described that transposition. In the APVR, what happens? There is no hole in the heart, but all four pulmonary veins will join together to form a common pulmonary vein. So we'll drain into the three areas, either anywhere in the right side of the heart. Supracardiac if they drain into the SBC, infracardiac if they drain to the IVC, or you have the intracardiac if they drain to the right atrium. So there is no murmur, therefore will be caused also by increased flow of blood to the right ventricle through the pulmonary artery. So this is the congenital heart disease similar to atrial septal defect. You can also have fixed S2 splitting, plus there's over circulation. So una okay lang, but once all of the blood are now circulating, then you can have pulmonary congestion. So the only way to treat this baby when diagnosed is surgery. Okay, so there are different types. You have intradiaphragmatic and in truncus arteriosus, ano naman yan? There's a single trunk, no, above the septum. There's usually an associated VSD. So since may VSD, this is also a late onset congenital heart disease. So ito, normally you have a separate aorta and pulmonary artery, but this one, yung aorta and pulmonary artery will be a single trunk. Okay? So you may not also hear about this patient, pero cyanotic siya. This is also moderate cyanosis kasi meron siyang PSD. So TAPVR and Troncos, moderate cyanosis and latency. So any questions? I think that's very important for you to understand lang the physiology of the different types of surgery. And this is an arterial switch operation in patients with transposition of the great arteries wherein they just exchange and place the main arteries and transplant the not only the main pulmonary and aortic valve but also implantation of the coronary arteries. Usually before we had a high mortality rate for these types of 60 to 80%. But at least now, we are now having a 20 to 30% survival for these patients. So continuing improvement in skill for on patients with congenital heart disease are now happening in the country. So any questions? I think that's about all. So this will be 20%, 20 points in your exam. Do you have a question that I can answer? So you can reserve your questions, and then if you have questions, you can just text me or this is my number. So read in the book the more common congenital heart diseases, PSD, PDA, ASD, TOF, TG. The rest has been explained very well in the drawings that I showed. So I also provide you the synchronous type, which are synchronous lecture, which is I didn't discuss. So any questions? Okay, I'll see you tomorrow for the second part of the lecture on